everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone watching. This is Ricky Borba, your host of And Action, coming straight from Sacramento, California. My dog Chewy in the background. You've got Boba Fett and Han, the Mandalorian. Before we get into tonight's guest, I did want to give myself a little plug. My film, My Brother's Crossing, that was in theaters this summer, is on Amazon and streaming for 1 week only. It is off streaming January 27th for the foreseeable future. The great thing about this film, other than the fact that it is a great film, is that it's about racial reconciliation. And we just had Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, I would encourage you in the next 6 days, 5.5 days, to go on Amazon and check it out. It's a film that's going to leave you happy, hopeful, and just full of excitement for life. It's a good one. So with that said, our guest tonight is an actress, a producer, a development executive. Her name is Jamie Olson. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thank you, Ricky.
How you doing? Thank you. How you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you?
You are amazing, Jamie. You are amazing. I have done my research on you, and you are quite an amazing person. So I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Here we go. Start of every show. I don't have time to memorize, so I'm reading your bio. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Pretty impressive.
Hopefully it's good.
I embellished a bit. No, I didn't. I'm just kidding. All right. Jamie Olson was born in Bellflower, California. She's known for her role as Visit in Patrick Connolly's Desire Lines on Amazon Prime, as Sergeant Newton in season 2 of the sci-fi television action series Age of the Living Dead, which is also on Amazon Prime, and Sergeant Lulu Chang in Crossed. Jamie is also a producer and senior television and film executive for Big M Entertainment Pictures, with a focus on domestic development, finance, and distribution, which we are going to talk about tonight. She loves the art and creativity of being an actress, but also has the mindset, passion, and experience for the business side. She has been mentioned in Yahoo Finance articles for her successes so far in the industry. She just completed a TV pilot, Wrong for Right, a horror feature, Captured Awakening. She is a lead in both projects, producer and executive producer. Jamie is about to go into principal photography on another horror feature called Live, an action feature called Wrong for Right, which she's also a lead producer and executive producer. Jamie, you are busy. You have so much going on. Not to mention, 5 minutes ago, you told me you have a full-time job.
Yeah, I do. I don't know how I do it. I honestly don't know how I do it.
I feel like there's like a clone of you somewhere. Like, I can't think of a name off the top of my head that rhymes with Jamie, but like there's a Mamie Olsen somewhere that like you guys split up and divide and conquer.
Yeah, I mean, it feels that way, to be honest. It really does. It feels like I'm like two separate people, lots of hats, lots of spinning plates, all of the above. Yeah.
This isn't one of my things I wrote down, but it just dawned on me. One of the cool things in doing my research about you is that that Yahoo Finance article that came out about you was in 2020. So a year where a lot of things are being taken away from people and things are going the opposite way. Here comes you. What do you attribute that to?
That's a great question. I attribute that to luck, which is preparation and, I don't know, just luck, really. You got to be prepared, but also mentors, working hard. A lot of that is due to what I did years prior. I got in this industry in 2018.
Yep.
And I just ran. I was like, get out of my way. Nobody stop me. I'm going for it. And that's what I've been doing. And, I'm a go-getter. I just always have been. And I mean, it's just hard work, a lot of hard work, meeting the right people, sifting and sorting, learning quickly, adjusting quickly, getting up after you fall, all of the above. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. You're getting ahead. You're getting ahead where my questions are going. So we're going to back up
Sorry.
You're like a mind reader. I'm always curious when I talk to people who are in front of the camera mostly. When did you know that entertaining and acting was it for you? You said you got started in 2018 officially, but that's not when the seed was planted. I know that much. But when did it kind of germinate for you?
When I was a kid is really when it happened. I've been obsessed with film, movies since I was a child. I mean, you could put me in a room and have me watch movies all day, and I would literally go to that place. Like I would have like an out of body experience with movies. And I could do that the entire day. So it started there. And I remember when I was a kid also, I tried to do some acting stuff, but back then there was like a lot of scams, and they would ask my parents, you'd have to pay $5,000 or whatever the cost was. Basically,
Carbazon.
Yes, I didn't want to drop any names. Yes,
yeah.
And that kind of threw me, for a loop, and that kind of like bummed me out. Because I don't know, it was a scam,
Yeah.
But then I just was fascinated with movies and how they're made, and how you acted in them. So I found out one year that Buffy the Vampire Slayer was filming in Torrance.
Wow.
Yeah, in Southern California. And I had my cousin's girlfriend at the time take us, and I would just watch. Like, I would be there. I'd have her leave me there, me and my sister, and we would just watch for hours. And I remember being fascinated with like how they would cut and go, because when you're watching something, you don't know about what happens behind the scenes. So just to see what happens on set was like, that's when it really solidified, and that I wanted.
I love that story. I have a very similar memory as a young kid. Whatever year Karate Kid came out, I think it was 1984. So I must have been 6 or 7. I remember Entertainment Tonight, if you remember that show, used to be on. Maybe it's still on now. They did a behind the scenes featurette on it, and I remember they were filming a scene with Daniel and Mr. Miyagi doing their stuff, like, wax on, wax off. And so like the director called action. Okay, Danielson, wax on. He waxed on, and then he yelled cut. And I remember thinking, wow, that was really fast. But in the movie, like, that whole scene takes so long. And I was fascinated.
Yeah.
How they were like tight on the camera. So anyway, okay. So a fun thing about you is that you were banned from watching certain movies as a child. Talk about that.
Wow. First of all, how do you know that?
I called around.
Wow, you're good.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that is true. I was banned from watching horror movies. Because I don't even know. I was
19, 20.
I don't want to admit this, but I will. I pretty much slept with my parents until I was like 16 or 17. Towards the end of that, they had they're like, you're too big, you can't sleep with this anymore. So what I would do, I would drag my mattress down the hallway. And, middle of the night after like seeing something in my room, because I had such a good imagination.
Yeah.
I would see like a creature or something waving to me. So I'd be like, oh, I got to go to my parents. So I'd drag my mattress down and lay it by them and just knock out in their room.
Awesome.
That was my safety place. But yeah, horror movies, my imagination is crazy. It's wild. So, and it's funny, now I'm making horror films.
I know that's kind of you right as of right now anyway. You have two kind of genres you do. You're either the agent detective person or you're in the horror movie.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I read a quote from you that when you were younger, you thought being artistic meant like playing an instrument or drawing. So when did that change for you? When did you? I don't want to use the word realize, but when did you decide and realize that being artistic meant more than just drawing or the things that you thought it meant as a kid? When did you realize, wow, this acting thing is also artistic? I'm an artistic person.
That's another great question. Wow, you're really good.
Well, thanks.
I went a long time thinking that, like what you said, being an artist was like you can draw or paint or play an instrument, and I didn't do that. I grew up playing sports. I was very athletic, I love fighting. I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
I love business. So I'm thinking I'm just not artistic at all, and then I actually went through a life coach program. So I'm actually a certified life coach.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's the jobs you have.
Yeah, exactly. Add it to the list. Throughout the years here and there, I'll be told, oh, you're an artist. You're artistic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't know how to draw. I don't know how to do anything like that. But nobody ever elaborated more on that for me. But then when I was working with my coach at the time, who was training me to become a life coach, she brought it up again. She goes, she brought it up. She goes, you're very artistic, And I said, no, I'm not. She goes, yeah, you are. And I said, and well, obviously I'm working with her for hours during the day. So she elaborated more on it. She goes, you can be an artist in other ways. It's not just like whether you can draw or not. I'm like, and literally a light bulb went off. I was like, oh. And I felt like I'd been lying to myself my entire life. So yeah. Like I was like, I basically was like pushing that down
Huh.
So that was another thing that, like, opened me up, so to say.
But here's the good thing about that. You said you felt like you were pushing it down, but during those years you were pushing it down, you also learned skills that are now, to coin a phrase from multiple rappers, skills that are paying the bills. You are now working to pay the bills so you can do the acting thing on the side. So that was a great segue. It's almost like we talked about it beforehand, but we didn't. Your first acting credit on IMDb is 2018. So look, you are, I'm going to assume you're maybe in your 20s, but I'm going to be frank with you. Why did it take you so long to answer that call? You kind of talked about it a little because you were stressing me, but a two-part question. That's my phone. I'm sorry. I should have muted it.
Okay.
Why did it take you so long to answer the call? And then what was the catalyst that got you to finally take the acting call seriously?
Yeah, another great question. So it took me that long because, well, when you push something down for so long, you almost forget that it's there, right? So I had forgotten about acting, to be honest. And what's weird is, one thing that sort of sparked that in me was seeing Ruby Rose, like seeing her come out as an actor and her being, she's a lesbian, her being sort of like, she is kind of masculine, but also feminine at the same time. So that was like, oh, wow, somebody like that is acting. So that sort of sparked the interest again in me. That was a big one, actually, now that I think back at it.
2016-ish, 17-ish?
Yeah, exactly. When she was in Orange is the New Black, I believe. And then on top of that, I had been doing multiple things. So, I got into real estate after high school and lending. And that was in 2004. And I did well at that, did that for a while. And then I was like, okay, I'm bored with this. I get bored really easily. So, I was like, okay, I joined a network marketing company and I did that for a while. I sold life insurance and I did that for a while. I did a lot of stuff, and I was just trying to find something that not only made me money, but also fulfilled me internally, because in real estate, I made a lot of money, but there was like a missing piece, so to say. Something I wasn't fulfilled. And so I went on a journey, I went on the search of my life, basically, to find what that was. And then with the help of a few pieces, I got to a point where I was like, okay, I remember sitting in my home and I was like, what do I want to do? Like, what is it? And instead of looking outward, I went within and I was by myself and it was quiet. And then I go, maybe I can be an actor. Like, maybe I can start acting, So I literally Googled how do you become an actor? I literally Googled it. And within me Googling that, and maybe like an hour later, I had booked a job on a short film. No joke. Like, I Googled how to be an actor. Backstage came up, of course.
Yeah.
It allowed you to search. I didn't have a profile with them, but it allowed you to search the different roles that fit you, so to say.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't willing to pay for the site. So me being the, resourceful person that I am, I found an email on the submission, ended up emailing her instead, basically backdoored it, so to say.
Nice.
She emailed me back. I sent her pictures. She sent me sides, which I didn't even know what sides were. I had to Google what are sides.
Yeah.
And then I did my little audition. I Googled how to audition because I got an audition. I did it in my bathroom with horrible lighting, everything. And like 15 minutes later, she called me saying I got the part. I was like, is this easy?
Is this real life?
Yeah, is this real life? I should have done this a long time ago. But yeah, it doesn't always work that way.
That's really cool. So, okay, from the perfect time to watch your acting reel, and then we're going to come back from your acting reel. Jamie, you need to know I am kind of mad at you. So we're going to talk about why I'm upset with you after we watch your acting reel.
All right.
Well, we integrate mind, body, and spirit into our filmmaking. We make sure everyone is well taken care of while meeting some soft guidelines.
You said that Mike's behavior changed in the days leading to his death.
He was excited. Like really happy. Like almost on a sugar rush for weeks.
young mother named Kelly Shaw, registered nurse at Finian's Hospital, and her 2-year-old daughter Celeste were out playing in their front yard. Their next door neighbor happens to be a well-known gangbanger named Elliot Corley. He was also in his front yard at the same time.
And then I found out about this girl, Sadie.
And you first met her the night he...
Yes.
Just wait till the pain goes away. And then I'll do it again. And I'll keep doing it until you give...
Either is the church. The church is a machine.
So are we.
That's where Stella was buried. We made him dig up her body and saw it at Canyon Trail, Mulholland.
The spot she's buried is a well-known hiking spot.
No one else needs to die behind this. Let's just end this tonight. I have an idea that could benefit us all. If you're willing to listen.
Very nice, Jamie.
Thank you.
I'm still mad at you, though.
Why are you mad at me?
Because you killed my friend Robert Lasardo.
Well, hey, don't give that away. No, yeah.
It's in you. I mean,
yeah,
it's in your real
yeah,
life.
Well, he could have survived it. I don't know. Anything.
That's true. Let's you and I talk about Robert a bit, because I directed him in my film, Hope for the Holidays, was called The Doctor.
Yes, yeah.
Well, you and I can both agree, an incredibly talented man, very intense. But I would like to hear what it was like as an actor working with him, because I know what it was like as a director directing him. But talk about Robert for a little bit, who's a friend of the show, by the way.
Yeah. Robert is amazing. Very talented. Very intense. He kind of does his own thing on set, I would say. I was sort of fangirling when I saw him on set, to be honest. Just because he's been in the industry for a long time, he's done it a ton. He really leads by example. And so it's weird when you actually see someone in a movie or a show, and then you actually are on set with them and you have a scene with them. It's been interesting. I can't put into words how that feels. But yeah, I had a scene with him, and I won't give too much away because I'll get in trouble. But basically, some things happen, and in that scene that's in my reel, I had a lot of chefs in the kitchen, so to say, trying to tell me of when to shoot, right? Everybody was just confusing me and telling me, no, do it this time, do it that time. And then Robert, he screamed. He was like, just do it, And I was like, everybody on set was like, oh my gosh, is he mad? And then he came up to me afterwards, and he was like, hey, it wasn't you, it was everybody else, but you're doing great. You're doing great. Keep it up. And I was like, oh, thank God.
And I appreciate that about Robert, because I'll assume your film was also like mine in the budget. It wasn't like millions and millions of dollars. So on a lower budget film, time is money. And so you've got 1,000 people telling Jamie, point it here, pull it now, do this, do that. It's a waste of time. And so there were a few times on our set where I like to have a good time. I like to joke around. I like to smile. I like to laugh. I like to show the guns, which I don't have. But Robert, he's like, no, we got to stay on point here. He's from the military. So, he walks the walk and talks the talk. So, okay. So having said that, we talked about, and you talked about a little bit, your first really foray into acting was 2018. We're now in 2021, the beginning of. So really, let's consider 18, 19, and 20 was kind of an off year. I want to know, in that short time, we talked about a little bit like you went and saw that stuff get filmed when you were a kid, but what have you learned about acting and the process of making film in the 2 years and change that you've been a part of it that's helpful to maybe people who are trying to break into the industry? What can you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's journey is different, right? So I try to just give, obviously this is from my own experience, but everybody's going to have their own journey. But what I've learned that I can hopefully help other actors is ultimately the number one thing is your mindset, I would say. I know it's so cliche to say that, but it is very true. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to have grit. You're going to be told no literally a million times, and I know we've all heard that, but it's so true. I mean, you know, and luckily I come from a sales background where I'm told no a lot as well. So no to me doesn't mean anything. Like,
Right.
it doesn't really to me at all. If anything, I don't even really hear it, you know, which I think has helped me. So, you know, just have thick skin. You're going to be told no. Try not to take things personal. Also, you know, learn the business side. You know, I think a lot of people in acting classes I've been in, or even on set, I've met a lot of actors who are struggling, you know, and to be honest, they're better actors than I am, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I find them, they're always in class, they're always studying and all of that. And that's great. You need to do that, but they're never really working on the business side of it. And thank God I met my mentor, who's now my business partner, Marvin Williams, who's the CEO of Big M Entertainment Pictures.
Yeah.
Thank God I met him early on in my career, where he sat down with me and he told me, he's like, you know, you're a producer. And I was like, no, I'm actually just an actor. I didn't know what a producer was. And he's like, no, you're a producer. Trust me. And I literally believed it. When he told me that, I was like, oh, I guess I'm a producer. So I got to figure out what that means and how to do that. And not saying that everybody's cut out for it, but at least understand the business side, because it does help you a lot in your career, you know.
You and I are very similar in that. In my first film, The Talking Tree, that I did with Robert, that producer, Charles, is also Robert's manager. And so Charles and I are simpatico now. We actually have a film office up here in Northern California, but I came on to direct that film, but I also brought in the financing. And so Charles said, why don't you just produce it as well? And so from inception to completion, I was a part of that film. I mean, every decision I had my fingerprints on. I didn't make every decision, but they were on every decision. The editor, absolutely. And I think for a director and also for an actor, that helps, because we're the storytellers. You know, you have your line producers and crafting, all that stuff, and that's supremely needed. But the storytellers are the director and the actors. Once it's done, finished being written, it's done. So for me as a director, I like being involved in the producer's realm, because I know that every piece has my fingerprints in it. So what have you learned about the industry? I know we just talked about your acting and having the tenacity to stick to it and go through it and not lose focus. But what have you learned about the industry in that short time as well?
You know, the industry is, it reminds me of high school, actually. I make that analogy a lot. You know, in high school, or at least where I went, there's like little cliques. It's like, you know, there's like the gothic kids, and there's the jocks, and, you know, there's the nerds and all of that. I feel like that's how the industry is. I feel like I'm in high school again, so to say, because people are very cliquey. You know, to get into the circle that most of us want to get into, it's almost impossible, really. You have to either know somebody, you have to be, as my mentor would say, you have to be invited in. You can't buy your way in, you know, you have to be invited in. And to be invited in means you have to do a lot of things. You have to, one, work on yourself, work on your own business, and attract, rather than, you know, a lot of actors are very needy and they're very desperate acting. I hate to say that, but it's true, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like you push people away when you do that. I feel like if you're just on your path and you are true to yourself and your path, and you're working your butt off and you're making things happen, I think people will start to notice you, and that's how you get into these rooms, so to say. You know? A lot of the industry is who you know. It really is.
Oh, so much.
Yeah, it is, and it's tough. It's acting and producing and all of it. It's harder than people think it is. I will say that.
And people already think it's hard, but it's harder than that. I mean, it's hard enough to get involved in it and get your break, so to speak, but then also to continue to be able to work. You know, that's a whole nother thing. So a lot of people who watch this show, or by the way, Bex is probably wanting to kill me because she keeps putting the banner up, and I keep forgetting to mention, if you have a question for Jamie, type it in, and later on we'll get to the audience questions. But Bex keeps putting the banner up, and there we go, and I keep forgetting to mention it. But I want to talk about auditioning with you, because in my research, you had a couple funny stories about auditioning, and if I remember correctly, you were very, very nervous about it to start off with. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I mean, auditioning sucks.
Yeah. So talk about that and know where you're at with it, and just kind of compare where you were and are.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, knowing what an audition is, it's not just filming yourself on tape. There's so much that goes into it in terms of like technicalities and even like lighting and spacing and how you move in and how you move out, and then on top of all of that, you have somebody, let's say, reading with you, like for example, my partner reads with me, and that's a whole. I mean, I could make a movie on that alone. On how many times we fought and I had to go outside and sit on the curb, and it's crazy. But and then there's on top of all of that, now you have to then be a real person, and you have to tap into the emotions and have it look real. Like you can't act it, so to say. It has to be real. You have to actually be feeling the thing,
Yeah.
Or else it just looks like you're just acting,
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot that goes into it, which is why I think that it's a skill in and of itself. It really is, and you have to train at it, And I would say, obviously, in 2 years, I hope that I'm better than I was 2 years ago. But I still have, in my eyes, I still have a lot, further to go with it, more training. But I'm getting better.
I mean, until we take our last breaths, that should be what we think.
Yeah.
We should always
never ending.
It's really funny though, because at the beginning of this show, you talked about your first tape that you did was in your bathroom, and it looked horribly, the lighting and all that stuff. I will be honest with you, as a director, I will not watch an audition if it's in the bathroom and the lighting is horrible, because that to me tells me you're not taking it serious. And so you're so fortunate that you not only they watched it, but they cast you.
I know.
I mean,
I'm a big believer in gratitude.
Yes.
And I just, I talk to my partner Marvin pretty much every day, and we literally sit around the phone, and I'm like, when you look back, I think Steve Jobs said, I forget his quote, but he said, when you move forward in life, and I'm going to butcher this, but it's something to this sort. When you move forward in life, things don't really make sense or they're confusing, but when you look back, all the pieces align.
Yeah.
I truly believe that because, moving forward, I don't know what the heck I was doing. I had no clue, but looking back, I'm like, okay, that aligned. If this didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. And I'm like, man, I'm just so grateful to be here and to have the ability to make movies. I mean, that's like, it's a dream, So I'm so grateful.
So what are you doing now? Because you kind of, you have that story that everybody wishes they could have, which is, oh yeah, I just went to my bathroom and auditioned, got my first role. But obviously that's only going to get you so far. You're only going to get in so many rooms in front of so many directors and producers with natural talent. You need to. So what are you doing now? What would you recommend people do to continue to hone their skills? What have you kind of decided to do for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I do a bunch of different things. I look at it as like spinning different plates, so there's the plate of training, right? So acting classes and workshops and just self-taping yourself and having sides that you practice, and just a lot of practice. It's like really like a sport, really. Just you got to practice so it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it anymore. So I do a lot of that. I've done a lot of casting workshops. Actually, over COVID, I did a lot because a lot of them were doing that. So that I got to meet a lot of casting directors. I'm a big believer in producing and then putting yourself in your own movie. So I don't have to audition for those. So that's great. So I'm doing a lot of that. And that allows me to take control of my career. Because a lot of your career as an actor is out of your control. And so I like to be in control. So, or at least have some sort of sense of control, and that's what I'm doing a lot too. So of course I'm a lead in all of my stuff, if it makes sense,
Sure.
And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
That's fantastic. Anybody that's pursuing this needs to continually grow their skills, to stay fresh, to stay on top of the talent pool and things like that. And so I always tell people, if you are not doing anything to progress your skill set, you're probably going to be light years behind everybody else who's trying really, really hard to do that. So one of the questions I get asked all the time from actors is, should I get a manager? Should I get an agent? should I get SAG? Should I become, SAG? And so I want to focus on the manager question with you, because I read that was something you put a lot of thought into. I'm a director, so it's different for an actor. I want you to talk about what a manager does and what a manager doesn't do, and the importance of having one and when you should get one. Because I always tell people when they ask me, I'm like, look, if you're living in Sacramento and you're thinking about getting your SAG card and a manager, good luck. You're not going to be able to do anything in Sacramento at all. You're going to have to go to LA to do everything because there's hardly anything SAG up here. So just talk a little bit about the decision to get a manager, why it made sense for you at the time, and what a manager does and doesn't do for you.
Yeah, that's an interesting. See, everything I do is like, it seems to be different than what most people do. I don't know. It's interesting because a lot of my friends who are actors, they're having a hard time getting representation. With me, I don't know why I was just naive to think that I didn't need a manager or an agent. I was just going to get the stuff on my own. And I don't think it helped that I got that first role on my own. That sort of set me up for like, I don't need anybody. I just do it on my own.
Yeah.
And that may or may not have helped me. I want to say it helped me because I never came off as needy to, like, I never actually sought out a manager or an agent. They've all sought me out. So I've had, 5 managers, 6 agents. And right now I currently just have an agent. I don't have a manager. And that's my choice. But so a manager, basically, they're there to guide you and sort of like help you to, basically guide you. An agent would just submit you, they're just there for like basically just to submit you. They don't really want to talk to you. Although my agent now is amazing. She's kind of like a manager, but she's an agent. They're there to handhold, maybe guide you on what classes to take and what you need to work on and maybe headshots and all of that.
Yeah.
They also submit you as well, they could submit you as well, but they're really there to like guide you and help you further your career, so to say.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. A manager, in my understanding, helps develop and guide a career. An agent literally just submits you for projects once you've got that career going. It's like, oh, hey, you are this tall and this wide and have this eye color, and I'm going to submit you for it. Whereas a manager might say, Jamie, you fit the role, but this film, I'm not so sure about the director. I'm going to kind of steer you away. That's what the difference is for me. So when people ask me about, do I need a manager? I'm like, well, are you at the point where you're ready to go on a bunch of auditions and need guidance, or are you just trying to break in? If you're just trying to break in, I would say, keep doing these productions until you kind of hone your skills.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I think a lot of people, they start and they're like, okay, I want to be an actor, and then they immediately want to get an agent or a manager, but they haven't done anything yet.
Right.
They haven't tried any. They haven't gone to any classes. They haven't done any student films or short films or anything like that, and so they wonder why they're having a hard time getting a manager or agent, and that's really what it is. It's like, a manager and an agent, they want to see you, or in this case, a manager, they want to see that you're helping yourself first, and they want to basically hop on that train of you helping yourself. They don't want to push you along without you doing anything. So I think if you're an actor and you're listening to this, if you can adopt the mindset of, yes, I have them to have my back, but let me do things on my own, like be your own cheerleader, so to say, first.
I completely agree with that. I like what you said, even though other people might be like, wow, that's a lot. You said you have had 5 or 6 or 7 different managers and agents. Well, here's the deal. It's like dating. And sure, they might seem great at the beginning and you get to know them, but then you realize there's a big difference in what you're expecting, what they're expecting. And if you're going to be in, let's just frankly call it a relationship. If you're going to be in a relationship with that person, you have to be on the same page. So I taught an acting class yesterday, and I told the people in that class, I said, if you don't like your agent or manager, get a new one.
That's what I did. And I'm big on energy. Like, I do not come at me with negative energy. I don't care who you are. Like, even my mom, if you're on here, I love you, but I don't do negative energy. And all of those ones that I had, I basically fired all of them, to be honest. I'm like, just not working out because every time I talk to you and you're complaining about something, I can't deal with that. It's just life's hard enough as it is to deal with that.
I agree. All right, Bex is telling me we have a question from the audience watching. All right, Adam Thayer says, Jamie, is a lot of your work in LA now or out of state?
All of it is in LA for now.
Yeah, you're there, right? That's where we're talking.
Yeah, I live in LA. I'm starting.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'm starting. Like, people are starting to reach out to me that are in like Canada and all of that. So we'll see what that leads to. But yeah, as of right now, I mean, there's a lot of work in LA. So great.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, wait, Adam. It was Adam, the guy that asked the question.
Adam, yeah.
Yes, Adam. Adam, that's a great question because it kind of leads in the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was I love talking about destiny, and how I kind of wrap it around is there's a book I read about 11 years ago, and it's called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. And it's about a guy from the Bible who went down a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion because it was threatening his village. So he knew how strong he was. He knew he could take on the lion. He went in the lion and killed the lion. So that metaphor for me has always meant I can't sit on my butt and wait idly by for a producer to call me or somebody to say, hey, Ricky, we want you to do it. I have, like you said, I have to go out and get those things. So, you talked about you live in LA now, but I happen to know, and we're going to talk about it right now, your upbringing in your life wasn't roses. I mean, you come, I don't want to call it poverty, but you come from the School of Hard Knocks. You lived in Stockton for a long time, which frankly, let's be honest, nobody's saying, hey, let's go to Stockton. Just like Denny's. No one ever says, let's go eat at Denny's. You just end up at Denny's. Like, that's like, okay. Yeah. So Stockton is one of those places, but I want to talk about the fact that your lion that you chased, that you went down in the pit and killed, was this difficult upbringing you had, but you didn't let that stop you from chasing your career. So I want you to talk for a couple minutes about chasing your lion, getting out of that difficult childhood you had, and going after your dreams.
Yeah, I love that. And to talk about Stockton, let's just say I passed through it now. I don't like there. Right. But I had some great memories there. But yeah, so growing up, I grew up with mom and dad, 2 sisters. I'm the middle child. And we definitely were lower middle class. We had a roof over our head and, food on the table. And I'm grateful for that. And, but I learned, my mom comes, she's born in the Philippines. She's Filipino. My dad's American. And, I saw how hard she worked and how difficult it was. And my dad didn't work growing up. He had some things he was dealing with. But, that sort of, ever since I was a kid, I was very, I guess, insightful. I lived internally, so to say. So I would look at a situation and I would internalize it, and I would sort of figure out why it was, or I'd be curious about it, and I pretty much, I remember one of my first memories was, I just want to take care of my mom, and yeah, that's pretty much what drove me. And, I wonder I don't know if I was born with, I don't know if someone is born with like tenacity or like the grit, or they learn it. I'm not quite sure if maybe it's a little bit of both, but I picked it up along the way, and I just basically, wanted to support people. I wanted to help my mom, my dad, my sisters. I'm a giver by nature, and I'm fulfilled by giving. So I'm thinking, okay, the way to give the most is to have a lot, so I need to have a lot, I need to have a lot so I can give out a lot of it, and that drives me a lot too. That's very fulfilling for me. But yeah, just learning what not to do from people. I don't need to learn the same mistakes someone else did. I can learn from them. So that saves me a lot of time. Yep. Some people are just hard-headed. They have to learn on their own. I don't need to do that. And also I attribute a lot of my success to my aunt as well. She's my mom's younger sister. I moved with her when I was 17, turning 18, and she's the one that got me into real estate. And she hardened me. I'm telling you, I was a little baby my mom babied me. So, but when I moved with my aunt, she turned me into a beast. I'm telling you.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. So a lot of who I am today is because of her.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the Bay Area, which is a melting pot culturally. So my 2 best friends were Filipino. My aunt married a Filipino. So I have a whole gigantic, as you can imagine, side of my family that's Filipino. And then last year I went to the Philippines for 2 weeks because I was going to direct a film about World War II. You can't do this kind of stuff. Yeah, you can't do this kind of stuff in 2021 anymore, but I do a really good impression of a Filipino mother. So maybe when we're offline, I'll do it for you. But it busts my friends.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Love it. I don't know if anybody's put this together for you before, but I did find it, for me, it was very obvious as we've been talking. You said marketing was a job of yours, life insurance, and now loan agent. All three of those jobs are helping people. So I don't know if you've ever really noticed that before, but you said you're a giver and a helper by nature. All three of those jobs are, yes, you're getting paid a paycheck, blah, blah, blah. But those are, you could have went and worked at a computer place and just done computer stuff all day. And, my fingers should be up here. But you're helping people. And I do believe that about you. I believe you are a helper. And I hope that you get more opportunity to give and to the Bible talks about freely given to us. We should be freely given to other people. So I hope you get more opportunities to do that because that's amazing. I love where your heart and your mind at is with that stuff because that's the way it should be. And to talk about me for a second, even though I'm interviewing you, I always tell people, if you're working on a film with me, and I notice like you talked about earlier, your attitude is positive and you're there with a happy heart. I'm going to pull you with me when I go to my next project. I'm going to help you. Because that's how I got to where I'm at. I started off on those sets doing not much for, the guy holding the pencil shavings and stuff like that. So I always want to bring people with me. So I'm so glad to hear that that's where your heart is as well.
Yeah, I mean, I tell my partner this a lot. I say, I truly believe, I've always believed this, and I believe it now even more, that you can be an amazing person to others and have it all at the same time. Like I find that some people, they work their butt off and they get to a certain point in their careers where they feel like now they can be rude to people or they can treat people like crap. And I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. And I don't agree with that at all. So my goal is to have it all and just be even more kind to people.
There's a great phrase that I remembered, and I'm not going to say the way it's said because we're on live TV and public TV, but it says the people you're treating poorly going up the ladder are the same people that are going to when you're coming down the ladder. So you have to treat people with respect and dignity and kindness on your way up because everybody, Jim Carrey, Tom Cruise might be the only person on earth, but every actor I can think of that's been at the pinnacle, they come down a little bit. And if you're mean to the people that helped you get there, it's so embarrassing for them. So, okay. We only have like 18 minutes left. This is flying by, but there's a huge part of you we're not talking about. And that is the producing side of Jamie Olson. And I want you to tell us, what is Big M? What are they? And what do you do for them?
Big M Entertainment Pictures is a production company. And Marvin, so I've mentioned Marvin Williams a couple of times. He's the guy who I met early in my career who told me I was a producer. So here we are, 2.5 years later. Now I'm a senior television and film development executive in his company. And, it's just crazy how life is, it's like we've been working together. He saw something in me that, I kind of saw myself, but not really, especially in this industry, because I was still trying to figure it all out. But I just believed in him and he believed in me. And, I earned my stripes, so to say, with him. And I love doing that. I don't like to just be put on, so to say. I like to earn my way. So even I told him, from the beginning, he was like, no, I love your vibe and all of that. So we're going to be doing this. I said, yeah, that's great and all. I love that. But I want to earn my stripes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you that I can do this, and that's what I did. I went and raised a bunch of money. I went and did things that, people don't normally do in the first 2 years in this industry, and I'd never done it before. I figured it out, So yeah, now I basically, I bring in financing, distribution. I've connected with a ton of distribution for us, but he already has a lot on his own. But I just kind of wanted to bring in my own, I learned it from I don't know if you play sports, but I played basketball and everybody has to do their part, nobody gets a free ride. And that's how I wanted to earn my part. So I feel good about myself, and so yeah, distribution, financing, and then also developing new projects. So that's pretty much what I do.
I love it. We are going to break that down, but you said something right now that I wanted to talk about earlier. So, Bex, we play a little game here called, hey, this was your first Instagram photo. I want you to talk about it. And since you just mentioned sports again, go for it, Bex. All right, explain that, Jamie.
Yeah, so I used to box. I used to be an amateur boxer. I almost went pro, but after boxing, that's Freddie Roach, by the way. He's a trainer for Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
All the greats.
Talk about somebody who's overcome something.
What's that?
Talk about somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a champ. Yeah, him and his brother Pepper. But I was he has a place called Wild Card in LA, and I was training there for a while. And I was, like I said, I was going to go pro. But again, I like to observe and then reflect, as I've done all my life. And I started observing people in the gym, and a lot of them are missing eyes and a little slow in terms of talking. And I'm like, yeah, I think I like my brain,
Yeah.
So maybe this is not the career. And then I started researching how much female boxers made. And I'm like, yeah, this is not.
You're out. You're like, no, I like my face. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not going to work out for me.
I mean, just watch any of the Rocky movies, and every single one of those, he goes on a dissertation about how things ain't working too good.
No, I remember one time I got hit. I was training. I got hit in the head for the very first time and in the ribs, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink this. This hurts. Yeah, I felt my brain shake in my head. Literally, it was the weirdest feeling.
I took Taekwondo for a while, and my first tournament, I was training with a guy from my dojo backstage, and he's a black belt. I'm like, whatever the third belt is, I can't remember. This is like 15, 20 years ago. And I went to punch him, and he dodged it, and he hit me in the ribs, and he fractured my rib.
Yeah.
Talk about debilitating pain, like weeks.
I know that, yeah. I would rather get kicked in the face than get hit in the ribs.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. Okay, all right. So that's fun. So that's Freddie Roach. You were a boxer. You also, oh man, did you play a boxer in one of your films, or at least like?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, all right. Back to Big M, because your phone's about to blow up now. Like everybody heard you say one thing on this. It was, I have access to funding. Now your phone is going to blow up. Hey, Jamie, I saw you on Hand Action with Ricky. Film. It's about a guy in a ditch. It's not going to be.
I already get those. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, what are you looking for when someone pitches you? Let's talk about that, because I said earlier, I get asked all the time, should I get a manager? The second question I get asked is, hey, I've got an idea for a film. Do you want to direct it? And can you find me money for it? Well, probably not. But I want to hear from you. What are you looking for when someone pitches you? And I already kind of think I know the answers, but I want you to talk about from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of tricky, because right now, with the company I'm with, we sort of have a game plan of what we're trying to do. We want to own IP. So a lot of it is we're sort of working on our own stuff, to be honest, to be able to own the IP, because that's where you really get wealthy, is when you own the IP. But, in terms of pitching, anything that speaks to me, I'm not really into comedy too much, to be honest. I just don't think I don't know. I'm not funny. So comedy is not really my thing. It's like the last thing I'll watch. But stuff that speaks to me, I love action, I love sci-fi, I love horror, things that I know can sell, Yeah. So I love art, I love making movies, but it has to sell, or else what are you doing? So that is a big one for me. And then also, what are you doing? Like, okay, you wrote the script or whatever, but like, how are you helping along? Yeah. I find that a lot of people, they need someone that can get funding, and then they're like, can you get all the funding for me? And like, I like working with people that are like, maybe they have some funding, they need help, or they're willing to help me, because I don't want to do everything. A lot of people just want you to do everything. So people that are on their way, that are willing to work hard, with a great script that I know will sell, and we'll make our money back, and we can go from there.
Would you say, though, because I'm answering for myself in this question, would you say for you, though, that it helps when someone comes to you with a bit of a plan, not just a great script or whatever, not just the fact that they're going to help out, but it's so much better when someone comes to me and says, and by the way, I've researched the demographics, I've researched this type of, comparable films. Like, it means so much more to me when someone pitches me and says, here's my script, but also here's films that are like it. Here's actors I thought of. I mean, I don't know how you guys take it.
Yeah, and that's, you explained it better. That's what I meant by has done part of the work, like, come to me with a plan. Because if you come to me with a script and, if that's all you have, well, I mean, everybody has a script. I mean, I get pitched scripts a lot. Sometimes people just send it to me without me asking them for it.
Yeah, unsolicited.
Do not recommend that. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, do not send me your headshot and your reel without me asking.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that. So yeah, I mean, don't be desperate. Like, do your work. I want to know that you are working your butt off to try to figure it out. And maybe you hit a few roadblocks and you want some help, and maybe I can help you there. But don't come to me wanting me to do everything for you.
Sure. Yeah, because that's, for me, that's the biggest turn off, frankly, is when they say script, or I have an idea for a script. Can you take it to the finish line? I'm like, I have ideas too that I can work on myself. So, I kind of answered this. Well, you actually answered it, but I kind of put two and two together, if I may be so bold. But one of my questions I wrote down here is, why did you get into helping people finance their films? And the answer is because you're a helpful person, but also because, like you said, you can control the IP and make money. But also, I would like to know, Marvin, when he came to you and said you were a producer, you could have said, no, thank you, I just want to focus on acting. Initially, why did you get into producing and helping people finance their films?
Well, I love business. I love business is problem solving, right? So a producer basically is a problem solver. That's really what they are. They also like to put puzzle pieces together, because a film is an assortment of pieces that you have to put together to build this thing. And I love puzzles. So, I love that. And I just didn't know what a producer did. I didn't know, a lot of people don't know what a producer does. It's sort of mysterious, what they do. But once he started explaining to me, I was just telling him about my life and what I've done in the different careers. And he's like, yeah, you pretty much have all the skills to be a producer. And, obviously, I like to take on any challenge. So I'm like, okay, well, let me figure that out. Let me see if I'm a producer. I'm not afraid of anything. So
yeah, it's great.
I'm glad I believed in that, and I went forward with that. And, he instilled that in me. And yeah, it's been great.
I love it. Jamie, you can answer this both ways or one of either way, either as it pertains to acting or producing. But how has the pandemic changed things? And do you see things going 100% back to the way they used to be? Or are things going to be forever changed moving forward for either acting or producing and finding funding?
So you're talking about for me or in general?
Well, I mean, you're an actress and you're also a producer and stuff like that. So what kinds of things have you seen change during the pandemic? Yeah. And will we ever go back to the way it was?
Well, obviously projects have stopped. Here in LA, they've stopped completely, really. Well, for a while in the beginning of the pandemic, they completely stopped. And that's changed. What I've seen I'm a silver lining kind of person. So I always see the good in things. A lot of people are frustrated because they stopped making money, and so did I, really, in the beginning of it. But you just have to learn to adjust, And I find that it really connected people to their families again. A lot in LA, especially, we're hustle and bustle here. It's like Ro was trying to get ahead, Ro was moving and shaking and stuff, and sometimes it's good to just relax, and give your body some time, spend time with your family, because that's what really matters,
Yeah.
So that was an eye opener for a lot of people I know. Was like, hey, let me just relax and do things that I used to love doing. It's also, I've seen it go the other way, where it's really stressed people out, put people in a bad mental place. So it's done that as well. And then for producing, it's same thing. I mean, you're dealing with human beings. Some people see the good in things and then learn to adjust, and some people just go down the rabbit hole of like darkness.
Yeah.
So it really depends on your mindset, which is why I started with your mindset is everything.
Yeah.
For any business, or just for life, you have to have a good mindset. Perspective is everything.
I couldn't agree more. Your happiness should not be based on your circumstances. It should be based on your perspective, is something I tell people all the time as well, because, and that goes for business as well. So if you are letting your circumstances dictate how you feel every day, you're just not going to be able to get to the place that you want to get to. Your drive, dedication, happiness, all that should be based on your perspective. Great. That was very wise, Jamie. So, we have a couple minutes left. What projects are you currently working on that you would love to plug?
Yeah, so I just finished a horror feature called Captured Awakening. It'll be a trilogy, so Awakening is the first part of that. That's in post right now. And then we have another horror feature which I'm also leading. It's called Live. That's going to be amazing. So we're going to start to film that, any day now. And then we have an action feature film which I'm also leading called Wrong to Right. So I'd originally done Wrong to Right, the pilot, TV pilot episode, but now we're doing a feature, which is a little bit different, but same concept. So we're going to start to film that any day now as well. And then I have a sci-fi TV series that I'm also leading. There's going to be spaceships and cool cars, and that's all I'll give.
As you can see, that's kind of my jam. I kind of like Star Wars a little bit. So
yes, I love your room. I really do.
Yeah, maybe later I'll put on one of my helmets for you. So, Jamie, the last minute or so we have, I just want to give you the floor to talk to all the people in Northern California and watching this, because we're on TV in Northern California, who are trying to break into the industry. Just give them your best advice, your best encouragement as to how to keep moving forward. And we've already talked about that big, but I want you to narrow it down for them in this last couple minutes we have.
Yeah, I'll just say, have the right head on your shoulders, have the right perspective, don't give up. Have a job that pays you so that you can last in this industry. Most people fail because they can't last long enough, so it takes time and it takes tenacity. So don't be a starving artist, you know what I mean? Like, pay your bills, eat, just keep at it. Also learn producing, make your own stuff, don't wait on people to give you an opportunity or to open a door for you. Open your own doors, and then other doors will open for you.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, you are beautiful. You are smart. You are talented. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. I hope people watching have learned so much from Jamie, because she has started from the bottom and now she's here, as Drake likes to say. But she's doing it, and we're just thankful you were here. Thank you, Jamie.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right, you guys. Good night.